There is another important transcoding workflow that I would like to discuss, especially if you're working with larger than HD material on longer format shows. What's going to happen is, in many cases, you'll want to do an offline before an online. You'll take all of your footage, you'll transcode it to DNx HD36 at low resolution, because you could potentially have hours or even days worth of footage. And what's going to happen is, when your show is done, you're going to want to relink to that original larger than HD content to finish your show. In previous versions of Media Composer, when you transcode, Media Composer will take whatever the frame rate of your clip is and match it to the frame rate of your project. The problem when working with an offline to online workflow is that when you go to relink to all your original master clips, because the low-res footage you transcoded into Media Composer now matches the project's frame rate instead of maintaining its original frame rate, Media Composer will not relink to any of that media. So how do we work around that? Well, in current versions of Media Composer, we have the ability to maintain the frame rate of the clip no matter what the frame rate of the project is. You'll notice in my bin, all of my clips have a 2398 frame per second frame rate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link to a clip that doesn't match that frame rate. I'm going to right click, I'm going to say input, I'm going to say link to media, I'm going to navigate to my elephants folder, I'm just going to select the first clip, and I'm going to say open. You'll notice that this clip that I have is at 2997 frames per second, and all of the other clips are at 2398 frames per second. What I can do now is I can select the clip, I can right click on it, I can navigate down to Consolidate Transcode. Inside of the Consolidate Transcode window, we have transcode selected and the drive we want to transcode to selected. You'll notice over here in raster dimensions, we're going to keep the project's dimensions, and right underneath that, you're going to notice that we can either keep the source's frame rate or we can convert it to the project's frame rate. Now, by default, it's always set to convert to project frame rate, which 99% of the time you don't want to do. We want to maintain the source's frame rate. Now, as soon as I do that, you'll notice that the target video resolution has changed to be DNxHR low bandwidth. If I drop this down, you'll notice that I have 4 flavors of DNxHR as well as 4 flavors of ProRes. What's important to keep in mind is that I am on a Mac, so only Mac users will have access to these Apple ProRes codecs to transcode to. In many cases, depending on your workflow, you'll want to choose DNxHR standard or high quality. Again, depending on your workflow, this might change, but in most cases, those are the 2 resolutions that you're going to choose from. All you need to do is to simply select the one that you want. You can then navigate down to transcode. I'm not going to run this one in the background. I'm just simply going to say transcode. What's going to happen is, once the clip is done transcoding, you'll see that it will appear over here in my bin, and the transcoded clip's frame rate stays as 2997 frames per second. So if we were working in an offline to online situation, this clip would have no problems relinking to its original media for us to do our online.